This one is from John on Facebook about the links between trade deals and immigration, which is something we haven't really spoken about a lot yet. So John asks, with a reduction in the number of EU workers, are we likely to see an increase in workers and students from the Indian subcontinent and Asia?
So again, it's very hard to know, and that's mainly because it's kind of going to be a policy choice for the UK government, right? If we assume that it looks like whatever kind of deal we have, it will not involve free mobility of labour with the EU. So we're going to have less immigration from the EU than we currently do. Now, in terms of migration from the rest of the world, that has always been something that's controlled not by the EU, but by the UK government. So, both before Brexit and after Brexit, the UK government has a choice over how restrictive it makes policy on migration with the rest of the world. And that's kind of, it's up to it. I mean, it's kind of one thing to note is that the EU at one point was trying to negotiate a free trade agreement with India. Those negotiations weren't very successful. They didn't really go anywhere. And one of the sticking points was that as part of the negotiations, India wanted more visas for Indian nationals to come and work in Europe. And the country that kind of blocked that was the UK. Right? So the kind of UK has a track record of trying to restrict immigration from the Indian subcontinent. So at least based on that past, you'd expect we probably wouldn't see an increase after Brexit.
Interesting. And how do you think Brexit might impact the governments? As you said, it's a separate decision that's made by the government. How do you think Brexit might impact that? So, I mean, clearly concerns about the effects of immigration were an important factor for many people in the Brexit vote, and particularly for many Leave voters. One of the things they often talk about is we are worried about the effects of immigration. Now, if we have less immigration from the EU, one possibility is people will see that, as the first stage of, well, we've restricted migration from the EU, now let's restrict migration from the rest of the world. Okay. Another possibility is maybe that will kind of lessen concerns about immigration, and then the government will be able to kind of loosen immigration restrictions in other areas. I don't really have a strong view on kind of which of those is more likely. I think it's very hard to know at this stage. But certainly, I mean, it looks like we're going to have tighter restrictions on migration with the EU, and probably that at least initially we'll probably have fairly similar restrictions on migration with the rest of the world as we currently do. Okay.